thing that we would do at Facebook a lot. We thought a lot about our company culture. We wanted to make sure that no matter how big Facebook got, that every single person who worked there felt like an entrepreneur. So we would do these things called hackathons. Once a month, everyone was invited to pull an all-nighter at the office. That sounds terrible, right? Why would you pull an all-nighter at the office? But at these, there was something different. There was an exciting energy because you weren't allowed to work on anything related to your day job. You got there, you worked on a passion project that you never would give yourself 12 hours normally to work on. And if you were still standing in the morning, you got to get up in front of all of your colleagues and present your finished project. Most of the projects were the stupidest things you've ever seen in your life. One that really stands out to me for being particularly silly, one engineer hooked up a trampoline to an iPhone. So when you jump, that becomes your new lock and unlock screen. Yeah, you had to recreate the same jump to get back into your phone. People jumped for hours to get back into their phone. I think that was the worst invention I ever saw in my entire life. But there you go. All of a sudden, it created this atmosphere where people weren't afraid to fail or be silly or look stupid because no matter what you were working on, the guy next to you is hooking up a trampoline to an iPhone. There's nothing you could do to top that. But at these hackathons, there was always one or two projects that was so good and so unexpected that it wound up becoming a full feature on the site. And it was never senior management who had those ideas. It was always a junior level employee or someone fresh coming off of maternity or paternity leave. It created this atmosphere in the company where you didn't have to wait to be told what to work on. You could create your own dream job. You could really be an entrepreneur inside Facebook. I had 2 hackathon projects of my own that I'm particularly proud of. The first, I created an 80s rock music cover band inside Facebook, and I believe I have a photo. This was Feed Bomb. Our motto was, we play for free and you get what you pay for. Pretty mediocre, but we had a lot of heart. But the second project, I told you I was getting really passionate about the intersection of what was happening on television and what was happening on our phones. I was working on our first ever developer conference where we had developers coming from all over the world to learn about Facebook's new products. And all of a sudden, a volcano erupted in Iceland and no flights could take off from Europe for about a week or 2. So no one from Europe could come to our conference. We had a hackathon at Facebook during that time, and I thought, how cool would it be if we could empower the people at the conference to stream live from their phones so that everyone in Europe wouldn't feel like they were missing it. So there we did. I built something called Facebook Live, which we debuted at the F8 conference, and we had over 100,000 people around the world tune into this tiny little technical conference that we were doing. And I thought, wow, I think we're really onto something. About 3 weeks after that, Katy Perry Popstar's manager called and said Katy Perry would like to launch her world tour using Facebook Live. And from there, it was this incredible snowball effect. We had celebrities and pop stars, actresses, world leaders. We even sometimes would throw a bone to a smaller startup in Silicon Valley on my Facebook Live show. These guys were on my show. I said, okay, tell me about your little startup. What's it called? Twitter. I'm like, cool, good luck with that. Well, they did pretty well with that. Good job to them. But I think that one of the proudest moments for me was I was with my husband at dinner, and I actually got to turn to him and say, hold on, honey, the White House is calling. I'm sorry, who gets to say that? Like, that's pretty cool. And the president was calling because he wanted to use Facebook Live to do a town hall to all of America. In 4 months, it had gone from this little hackathon project to something very mainstream. And today, Facebook Live is a feature that's on over 1 billion phones and Facebook profiles around the world. So where does this leave all of us? Maybe you're sitting there thinking, cool, that's a nice story, Randy. You got to meet the president. Good job. But what I think is so impactful for so many of us to think about is really the changing tide of technology. The fact that all of us today need to think and act like a media company. What's so interesting about social media is that at the same time that it's probably the most powerful tool that all of us have in our arsenal for business, for every aspect of your business, whether it's marketing, sales, customer acquisition, customer service, it also, in order to be successful, you basically need to go against everything you've ever been taught about leadership in business. You need to think like an entrepreneur, which means you need to try 12 things knowing that 10 of them are going to be terrible failures and be quick enough to double down on the 2 or 3 that work. That means that you need to be okay with failure inside your business. It means you need to act like a media company. You need to get comfortable broadcasting more of what's going on, and you need to, in addition, think about how to entertain and educate people at the same time that you're running your own business.
If you're sitting down there as a business and thinking, gee, I really don't know what my story is if I have to think like a storyteller and a media company, where do you start?
I think there's so many places that are really easy to start. The first thing that's always easy is to just shine a light on the amazing people that you work with. There are so many ways that you can, either through photos, through videos, that you can show off your employees and the great work they're doing, or show off your customers and your appreciation for them. The next time you're launching a new initiative or a new product, think about maybe instead of just holding a typical press conference, to also make it go global by doing some live streaming. So I think there's a lot of ways to achieve very small, quick wins in storytelling using social media that can get everyone much more comfortable with opening up and telling your story in a broader way. But I think the most exciting thing about social media is that your customers and your audience will tell you exactly what they want to hear. If you engage them in a dialogue and a conversation, it actually takes out a lot of the marketing guesswork, because turning to your audience for what they want to hear about your business is the best way to engage, and actually lets you know exactly what you should do.
Just thinking, if you're not Red Bull with a $1 trillion budget in your pocket, so if you think about video on a small budget, could you give some advice? How can you actually bring some of the, let's say, thinking that Red Bull have into your own little company?
Yes. Well, I think, first of all, that's one of the best examples that I love to use when I talk about acting like a media company, because Red Bull, on that video alone, got more views than pretty much every sports network in the world combined. So you can really start to think about a day when maybe we might all be buying advertisements inside of Red Bull's Facebook page instead of in other places, because that's where the viewers are. Now, of course, like you said, not everyone has the kind of budget to be broadcasting people free jumping from outer space. But to start to show a little bit of inner working of your business, to start thinking about, okay, how do we put content out there that's both educating and entertaining people? But I think the biggest thing to take away from Red Bull is that that was broadcast live. So I think that was the video that had the most live viewers that ever turned in to one event at one time. The thing I love about live video is that it creates scarcity in a world of endless noise online. When you make a live video, people feel like if they don't tune in and experience it live, they're missing out. It's, I think, the #1 way to create a sense of exclusivity in a world where there's endless competition and noise online.